My name's Ben Sharples. I work for a company called Tector. Tector is a moisture leak detection organisation that monitors buildings. It determines water ingress and also monitors moisture content in timber structures as well. So in 2021, the government released the Net Zero strategy, which was all about building back greener. This is a good start, and it was about achieving the net zero targets by 2050. And in essence, to summarize, it's basically trying to accelerate the green industrial revolution, build cleaner and try and create that clean energy transition. We're looking at a sector-wide decarbonisation, pathways and investment, and embedding net zero into decision-making, society and governments. And by doing that, we're going to try and do that in every sector, in every part of what we do throughout the UK. One of the biggest contributors is the construction industry. Now, the built environment contributes something like 25% of the UK's carbon emissions. So we do need to consider about how we're building and what materials we build in as well. Just released and updated earlier this year, we've got the Timber and Construction Roadmap. And that basically is a roadmap in terms of incentivising using timber in construction specifically because of the benefits you have in terms of using timber, the speed and the health of the buildings, but also timber sequesters carbon. So instead of using materials such as concrete and steel, which generate carbon as part of your carbon cost calculator, timber actually has the reverse effect and it sequesters carbon, so it actually makes us build stronger. But with that, we are building slightly smarter, slightly greener, and more taller than ever, and using materials such as timber. But with that, we are creating different systems and materials and components that we're putting into our buildings to make them greener. So for instance, there you'll see in the image, we've got increased amounts of havoc and photovoltaics and on your flat roofs. We're creating more green roofs, blue roofs, water attenuation systems. I'm doing a lot of analysis on buildings now that are putting swimming pools on top of flat roofs as well. So we are still building with flat roofs and timber generally, but we're actually increasing the amount of risk by adding more plant and situations to the flat roofs, which will create penetrations into our waterproofing membrane and essentially create more leaks into the building. And with all of that, we get more access walkways as well. So access is a main requirement to service some of these systems, to action some of the problems that our building might be facing. We need these access walkways. With that comes stanchions, bases and balustrades and that sort of thing. And they all, again, bolted down to the main structure of the roof, and that's creating penetrations into the waterproofing system. The more penetrations we have in that waterproofing system, the more risk we have in some of them going wrong. And you're going to get leaks, and more than likely you're going to get more than one. In terms of what Tector does, we detect leaks and we monitor water ingress and monitor the state of a building. We're using our own internal statistics now to create data and create some quite scary statistics in general. And these are just a few of them, but 99% of timber buildings are showing moisture issues during the construction phase. Okay, 9 out of 10 buildings with flat roofs had leaks during construction. So we're not even looking at post-completion. We're looking at during construction stage, we're having issues already. And 66% of our CLT projects still had issues post-completion. So when the building is handed over to the main client, 66% of those buildings still had moisture-related issues when they were handed over. So we are looking at building more green and building in timber and creating these lovely environments where we're creating nice living environments, nice workspaces. When we're talking about mass timber and internal spaces, it's a much nicer environment when you've got lots of timber around you, whether that's a school, whether that's a hospital, whether that's a workspace. But with that, we do have some leaks, so we need some issues that we do need to consider, and leaks being the main one of them. If we look at the statistics around the UK construction industry, approximately 3% of the construction budget is spent on water ingress. Okay, that's 3% of the total budget. That could be right off the bottom line is going on water ingress. And leaks are occurring, and they occur in different stages, whether that is during construction, and we might call that construction phase moisture. And then if we're closing the building in, we'd call that trapped construction phase moisture. We've then got the water ingress stage. So post-completion, handed over the building, and we've got a flat roof, for instance, and it's got a leak in it, and it's trickling in through the building. And also we've got escape of water. So in our wet rooms, riser cupboards and kitchens, that sort of thing. If we've got a trickle leak, whether that's in the waste or whether in a water feed, it's a trickle leak going into our structure. And if we have leaks in the building and they go undetected for too long, we get damaged over a prolonged period. And whether that is damage to structural concrete, like the image on the left, or whether that is fungal decay and rot into our mass timber structures, it's going to occur. And the thing with timber structures is, because timber is a hygroscopic material, it absorbs moisture. And actually, when you've got a thick slab of it, the amount of moisture it can absorb can be quite significant. And actually, you might not get early signs in your building and your ceiling linings and that sort of thing when you've got a leak. So monitoring that and looking into that will help get those leaks early on and detect that and fix it. All these leaks lead to big problems, and then we need to ask ourselves, really, who's responsible? Everyone will blame each other. The client will say, I've paid for a building, I expect it to be handover perfect and leak-free. The insurance industry might say, we're not covering workmanship issues. That goes back to the contractor. The contractor might say, well, that was the subcontractor who I can't get hold of now. Or these leaks might happen 6 years down the line, or get discovered 6 years down the line, and it's really difficult to find anyone culpable for this. And it might lie, the costs of the damages and the repairs will lie in the pocket of the client, unfortunately. And that's not just survey and repair costs and materials. We've got a whole range of costs and knock-on effects of these damages. There are some big cases going on in London at the moment. You might have heard of the Sky building. You might have heard of the Google building. These are hundreds of millions of pounds worth of claims in structures that could have been limited if the buildings were monitored. So at Tector, we use sensors and we install them into our buildings. We install them into high-risk areas, and those high-risk areas might be flat roofs, and then finding out where the sort of penetrations are in those, the rainwater outlets, and placing them adjacent to those. If we're looking at timber buildings, we'll fit them directly into the timber structure as well. So we'll get multiple data points from the sensor, whether that is timber moisture content, whether that's temperature and humidity. And we'll use external weather data as well. And our AI tool will interpret all of that information to give a risk score of your building and pinpoint where those leaks are, and give you a warning alert straight away that you've got a problem and it needs rectifying. I'll go into a few little cases that we've got going on at the moment. Tector's approximately 6 years old now, from pen to paper of the startup. We're now operating in 21 countries, over 300 projects, and about 8,000 sensors in operation. Now, this building here is, I won't try and pronounce the name of it, but it's a Danish building, and it translates as the Marble Pier. This is the largest timber building in Denmark. It's in Copenhagen. And they've got sensors all over this building, and they've been using them for different uses. They've been using them, this is a CLT building, so they use them for moisture management during construction. But they're also using them for things like flat roofs, post-construction, facades, wet rooms, anywhere where we feel there was a risk in part of the construction area, terraces and that sort of thing. What was interesting about this one is we did find leaks during the moisture management phase during construction. So as they're about to close the part of the CLT building in, we're able to contact them and say, look, the moisture content of the timber is way too high. If you enclose that in now, that is going to rot the structure without you even realising. The main contractor wasn't massively happy about this because it was going to hold up their build programme. But what they were able to do was switch out those wet panels with some dry panels they had stored elsewhere on site for later on in the construction stage. It cost them a little bit of disruption, but they could place those dry panels in, let the wet panels dry out in storage, and then install them later on in the construction phase. This way, it was minimal downtime, and had the actual client moved into the building, the disruptions of that damage might have caused would have been horrendous. Another project we've been involved in is the Paris Olympic Village, and we were monitoring the wet rooms there. This is a CLT building, and we had our sensors installed underneath the shower trays in all the wet rooms. The reason being is if you get a leak in the water feeds or around the shower waste, that'll trickle flow and that'll just get absorbed into the CLT slabs below. What we found is the sensors were all fine until about late July last year when the athletes moved into the village. All of a sudden, a couple of the sensors started spiking and sending alerts to the user. Facilities manager popped over to the locations where these sensors were and basically found that the shower trays were leaking when the showers were being used. He was able to seal off those shower trays, fix the leaks. The moisture content of the timber, although high, stayed below the decay threshold, and then it slowly dried back down to a safe zone after that. They found multiple leaks during the Olympics, and they were able to fix those quite quickly. A building and a project we're really proud of, and we will mention every time we talk to anyone, is Notre Dame. We have over 200 sensors now in the roof at Notre Dame. And it's not necessarily although they will detect leaks in the roof, the issues they're trying to monitor here is the fact that they've used green timber during the construction phase. This is a traditional method. You cut a tree down, you process it, and you install it green. When we say green, we mean it hasn't had time to dry to its desired moisture content. So that drying process will happen in service. Now, although that is predictable in terms of the moisture content that it will get to, what we need to know is how fast it's going to dry and how that might compromise the joints and the distortion in a piece of timber. So the structural engineers have installed the moisture sensors in there to monitor the moisture content, and they can then predict the effects of the shrinkage in the timber and how that might affect any of the structural jointing in the roof. The other really useful part of the sensors in this application is they go into the roof spire there, which is I think 35 meters tall. It's a really hard to reach area. Rather than sending someone up there to do manual readings every time, they can send someone up there once, install the sensors, and they're in these hard to reach areas. So the Tector sensors, they get installed in the risk areas. Like I said, we've got two types of sensors. We've got a flat roof sensor, which gets loose laid in a warm flat roof environment, and that picks up ambient changes in the conditions, so temperature and humidity, and then the absorbed moisture content through a material medium, and that will alert the user where they get alerted and pinpointed into a blueprint there, where they can pinpoint exactly where that leak was happening, rather than spend hours or days or weeks trying to work out where the water ingress originated. We locate that then onto the blueprint. Whether they go that onto the flat roof, whether that's inside the building in a wet room, they know straight away that this is where the leak is. 90% of our clients are now being alerted and fixing their leaks within a week of the leak occurring. So minimal damage is occurring, resulting in minimal costs. I think majority of repairs in that scenario are under £1,000 in terms of cost and repair, in terms of access and specialist equipment. So takeaways really from the talk today is that moisture is a hidden risk. Really, it's a risk that occurs in many buildings, and it's there whether we realise it or not. by catching those leaks early on, we can help you identify where those leaks are, have them fixed very quickly, and minimize damage and subsequent costs throughout the build. I think the biggest message we're trying to say is that using technology in buildings hasn't been that common in the past. So we use technology and sensors in everything we do in life now, whether it's in our cars, whether it's in our toaster. Everything has sensors and technology in, but in the biggest assets that we own, we're not utilizing that so much. But the technology's there, and for a small fraction of the damage costs that we get in the buildings as a result of water damage, it can be implemented really easily. Thank you very much for listening. We have a small stand, a small booth over here in the Smart Spaces environment. I can show you a bit more detail about some live examples and show you some of the sensors and how it all works if you'd like to come and see me. Thank you for listening, everybody.